From the medieval Islamic world, satire reached medieval Europe. In the early Middle Ages, examples of satire were the songs by Goliards, now best known as an anthology called Carmina Burana, and made famous as texts of a composition by the 20th century composer Karl Orff. So Karl Orff made it famous, made Carmina Burana famous through his composition in the 20th century. Carmina Burana is a manuscript of 254 poems and dramatic texts, mostly from the 11th or 12th century, although some are from the 13th century. And this particular work, Carmina Burana, has been composed by Goliards along with some of the individuals. However, the greater contributions has been made by Goliards, and that is why it is known by the songs by Goliards. However, Carmina Burana is also known as Songs from Benedict Bowen, and it is because this particular work was found in the 19th century at Benedict Bowen, a place in Germany. Carmina Burana is above all a story of love at first sight, namely German composer Karl Orff's instant infatuation with a collection of medieval poems that he chanced upon in an antiquity in 1934. They were most certainly written by Goliards, young and impoverished clergy who traveled around Europe writing drinking songs, romantic ballads, satirical songs about the church, and exhortations. With the advent of the High Middle Ages and the birth of modern vernacular literature in the 12th century, it began to be used again, most notably by Chaucer. And then there came early modern Western satire. Peter Bruegel's 1568 satirical painting, The Blind Leading the Blind, and direct social commentary via satire returned in the 16th century, when texts such as the works of François Rabelais tackled more serious issues. Two major satirists of Europe and the Renaissance were Giovanni Boccaccio and François Rabelais. Other examples of Renaissance satire include Thomas More's Utopia. Elizabethan writers, on the other hand, thought of satire as related to the notoriously rude and sharp satire play. Elizabethan satire, typically in pamphlet form, thereof contains more straightforward abuse than subtle irony. And therefore, the French Isaac Casaubon pointed out in 1605 that satire in the Roman fashion was something altogether more civilized. Casaubon was trying to point it out to the writings of the Quintilians, and Casaubon discovered and published Quintilian's writing and presented the original meaning of the term satire and the sense of wittiness. And that is why it became more important again. It led a very great impact on the writers of the 17th century. And that is why Dryden once again tried to revive that sort of satire. So 17th century English satire once again aimed at the amendment of the vices, in the words of Dryden. Just before Dryden, in the late 16th century, a new wave of verse satire broke out with the publication of Hall's work. That particular work was based on 6 books of verse satires targeting everything from literary fads to corrupt noblemen. Although Donne had already circulated satires in manuscript, Hall's was the first real attempt in English at verse satire on the Juvenalian model. So, Hall is considering the first who attempted for the first time Juvenalian model. And then there came ancient and modern India. Satire. Kathak Young had played a prominent role in Indian and Hindi literature. and is counted as one of the ras of literature in ancient books. In Indian aesthetics, a ras or rasa literally means juice, essence, or taste. It is a concept in Indian arts denoting the aesthetic flavor of any visual, literary, or musical work that evokes an emotion or feelings in the reader or audience but cannot be described, it can only be felt. And with the commencement of printing of books and local language in the 19th century, and especially after India's freedom, this grew. Many of the works of Tulsidas, Kabir, Munshi Premchand, and current day stand up Indian comedians incorporate satire, usually ridiculing authoritarians, fundamentalists, and incompetent people in power. So, in India, it has usually been used as a means of expression and an outlet for common people to express their anger against authoritarian entities. In the upcoming video, we are finally here to discuss restoration satire and Dryden as a satirist. Stay tuned with us to enjoy the upcoming lectures.